Hello and welcome. My name is Peace Mitchell and I'm co-founder of Osmompreneur, the Women's Business School and Women Changing the World Press. Before we begin today, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that I live and work on, the Mammoo people of North Queensland. And I'd like to pay my respects to traditional owners and elders past and present right across Australia and the Torres Strait. Well, today we're here to celebrate the launch of our newest book, Women Leading the Way. This beautiful book is all about leadership and it shares the stories and the journeys of 29 incredible women who are indeed leading the way. And I'm so honoured and excited to have a number of the authors of this book joining us today. So if you're watching live, I'd love you to chat in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from today. And also, if you have any questions for our authors, let us know in the comments as well. But first, I'd like to welcome our first guest, Dr. Emma Barrett. Please join me on stage. Dr. Emma.
Morning, Paige. How are you going?
I'm really good. It's wonderful to have you here, Emma. Before we begin, I'd love to hear a bit about you. I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us who you are and about the work that you do.
So I'm Emma. I am the owner of Coral Coast Veterinary Hospital and I live in the northwest of WA. It's a large area that I service. I've got a great team beneath me, but we treat all animals, big and small, throughout the Gascoyne region, some of the Pilbara region in WA. I have two amazing boisterous children who are now 4 and 5, and yeah, they're really the biggest driver in why I do what I do, I guess. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here, and thanks for having me.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you here, Emma. Your chapter was called Lead Yourself First, and I really loved reading your chapter and hearing about your story. You had your boys were 14 months apart, and when your second child was only 9 days old, you had to go back to work. Can you tell us about that time in your life?
So yeah, it was a crazy time in my life. I was a sole vet at my practice when I found out I was pregnant with my first baby, and so that was a huge juggle trying to run a small business. And then the extra surprise came when my first was 6 months old and I found out I was pregnant with my second baby. So it was certainly, yes, took everything I had to kind of keep going through that time. But it's, yeah, as I said, I guess they're my driver for why I keep on going. And yeah, they're a big inspiration to me as well.
Yeah. And at that time, you were the only vet in a 500-kilometre radius when the other vet practice closed. And that added extra pressure onto you. It's already a difficult time when you have 2 young babies close in age. You're also running a very busy business with people contacting you at all hours of the day. And then the only other support that you had from the other vet that you could have potentially referred people to closed.
Yeah, so he closed when my second baby was 3 weeks old. So I did find myself solo in such a massive region. So it was all hours of the day and night, and being in a small town, people do find you whether you're trying to have some time off or not. So it certainly added to the pressure. And for a long time, I felt like I couldn't say no to things. I've certainly got a lot better at setting boundaries for myself. It is still a challenge because I am working through my people-pleasing traits. But yeah, it was a crazy time. I probably couldn't say it's any less crazy now. I've recently become the sole vet again in the region, but from what I've learned and my own self-discovery over the past few years, I'm definitely in a better position to handle all the extra pressure these days. So
yeah. I mean, in your chapter, you talk about the fact that you're working 78 to 80 hours a week and you're very close to burnout. And you say, there's a quote from your chapter, I had to let go of the idea that being busy equaled success. So it wasn't just the fact that you were working long hours. It was the mindset that was like, if I want to be successful, I've got to be busy all the time. Yeah. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from a young age, I put a lot of pressure on myself to constantly achieve, and I equaled success with being busy and working hard. And the more you did, the more recognition you get, and then that would be the way to success. So yeah, I definitely had to let go of that idea in my own head, and be a little bit more vulnerable, and realize that I couldn't do it all. I didn't have to do it all, and I could ask for help and actually accept the help that was being offered to me. So I, was able to reach out and to in different ways to different people, and get that support.
Yeah, yeah. And you talk about, there's another quote from your chapter: you deserve to be happy. Treat yourself like you treat those you love the most. Tell us about that quote.
So I think, as mums, as business owners, we quite often are the ones to put ourselves last. It's make sure everyone's okay, and whatever is left over at the end is what we get for ourselves. But I think it does take a lot of self-reflection to realise that it's not selfish to start putting yourself higher up on the list, and to do the things that empower you to then be a better person for the people around you.
Yeah. And, in the chapter, you talk about the fact that sometimes we get so busy, we don't even realize that we're taking so much on. It's just, we just got to get up every day and, look after the kids, run the vet practice, and you were doing volunteer work as well. And it wasn't until someone asked you, is this the only day you get off without the kids, that you were like, yeah, it is. And maybe I should change that. Can you tell us about that? And when you started in place?
So at the time, I think my baby would have been about 6 months old. My eldest would have been about 20 months old. I was working days a week in the practice, and then when I would close up there, I'd go out to the race round. And it was a turning point where I just realised that, no, I didn't have to take on everybody else's problems, and I could just say no, and it was as simple as that, because I was just completely burning myself out for everyone else, and not for the people in my life that really mattered. So I took a step back and realised I could set those boundaries and start just doing the things that really fulfilled me, and that I wanted to devote my time to. So I just didn't think it was an option. Like I was just so busy. I was so used to just adding more and more, and to turn that around was a huge thing for me.
Yeah, I think that's a common thing that happens to a lot of women. We're so busy, we're so capable of doing things, and so used to stepping in and giving a hand wherever it's needed. And then, we become mothers and we take that on, and we keep doing all of the other things as well. And it eventually becomes too much. You talk about how, as part of the process, you put in boundaries, but there was an activity you did where you imagined what your perfect day would actually look like. Can you tell us about that?
So I, as part of the process of, reaching out and accepting help, I did engage a business mentor program, who I still work with today, who have just been instrumental in, allowing me to get some of my time back. So one of the exercises in that was it's a visualization type technique. So just picturing your perfect day, writing it all down in detail, and then allowing the universe and quantum physics to step in and to make that a reality. So yeah, I'm now a huge believer in manifestation and visualization, and a lot of the things that I did write down in that story, which were felt pretty far-fetched at the time, have actually come to life. And yeah, it's really exciting because you can, the things that can be so out there can actually happen. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, I love that so much. From your chapter, the crazy thing that happens when you create your vision is that the universe begins to align to deliver what you have manifested. And yeah, I love that you have talked about that, and that you are a great example of the fact that that's achievable.
Yeah, for sure. So I think especially when you are in the trenches of just not feeling like there is any light at the end of the tunnel, and you don't think that these things that you hope for could ever be possible. But I think, yeah, and I'm not unlike many women who have kids and businesses and take on a lot. So yeah, I mean, like, the hope is there. Like, you just picture what you want and just get the wheels happening, and you'll get there.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here today and chatting with us. And thank you so much for your chapter in Women Leading the Way, about your journey and how you have stepped into that leadership and really changed your life. It's so inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Pace. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So now I'd like to welcome our next guest to join me. Wadzi, please join me on stage.
Hello.
Hey, Wadzi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Peace?
I'm really good. I'm really good. For people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks so much for having me. So my name is Wadzi, and I'm the founder and CEO of Herconomics. I'm also an investment scams fighter and educator. My passion is for people, especially women, to be able to build their wealth without losing their hard-earned money to investment scams.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And so your chapter was called Perfectly Imperfect. Can you tell us about that title?
All right. So I am a bit of a recovering perfectionist, as I call myself. And I've struggled over the years to be able to kind of manage that issue. So I figured this was a perfect kind of, title for my struggles. So I actually bought a really cool t-shirt a few years ago, which says, "Learn to love yourself. You're perfectly imperfect." And I thought it would be perfect for this chapter and what I was going to be talking about, which is that struggle with perfectionism and a number of other challenges as well.
Yeah. You grew up in Harare in Zimbabwe. And as a child, you saw that, your mother was working, and there were other women around you who were independent, financially independent, but there were other women who you saw who were completely reliant on someone else. And so if something happened to that person who they were reliant on, they were really stuck. And there's a quote here from you. It says, "As a little girl, I didn't like this. I was too young to really know why, but I just knew it was wrong, and I wanted more for these women." Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that was a major kind of, I call it planting of a seed. And it's something that really made a big impact to the person that I am today. It was just the observations we all have as little kids. You just look around and you see how the society is. I just noticed that. I noticed that there was this reliance by a lot of, females that I saw around me. A lot of women who were so reliant on other people, they weren't free to live the life that they wanted. I had, relatives, running away from their husbands, from family violence situations. And their relatives would tell them to go back because they couldn't take care of themselves and their children financially. So everyone would be like, how do you think you're going to survive? You have to go back to your husband, even if he's beating you, or even if you are if you're unhappy, you still have to go back. So I remember thinking that was wrong. And first of all, I didn't want that for myself, but also I didn't want that for other women as well. And as a little girl, I wanted to, as an adult, to hopefully, do something, or at least help women feel empowered in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really powerful. We've got Amanda Thompson watching as well. And Amanda talks about the rate of homelessness in Australia. The fastest growing demographic is women over 55. And it's, because women don't have the financial literacy and the ability to be financially independent. And it's a real problem, and it's happening globally.
Yeah. It's definitely a global issue. Of course, there's different levels. I mean, other places, it's even, it's kind of like we're going back to medieval times, you know what I mean? And then other places, there's been definitely progress. I mean, Australia has definitely progressed more than a lot of other places. But again, just like, Amanda and yourself were just saying, it's still not perfect, right? There's still room for improvement there. So it's an area that I'm really passionate about, because I feel that when women are empowered, whether it's financially in other ways, it impacts the whole society in such a positive way. And that's kind of how I want to make a difference for everyone, not just women.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with you. If we can empower women and give them those skills and tools to be able to be financially independent, then the benefits flow onto everyone.
Exactly. Yeah. There's research, right? Which, because I'm very much a very scientific thinking type of person, and I want to see, okay, what is the impact going to actually be? And there's so much research which shows the power of empowered women and how that flows onto the whole society in a positive way.
Yeah. Oh, so good. So good, Wadzi. I love the work that you do. You talk about in your chapter perfectionism and how it's been something that you've had to learn how to overcome and, that you've struggled with. Can you talk to us about perfectionism?
Yeah, so what I've come to realize is that perfectionism is kind of just another thing around fear and insecurity. So a lot of people sometimes might think perfectionism is someone who's trying to be excellent, to do an amazing job. But if you look at perfectionism, there's no perfection in the world. So if somebody is focused on something being perfect, even though rationally and logically we all know that's not possible, it's just somebody who's trying to, who's afraid to take action. They're trying to find reasons not to take action. They're afraid of something. They're insecure about something. And so over the years, I realized that there were a lot of kind of things I wasn't doing because I was waiting for everything to be perfect. But in essence, I was just afraid. I was afraid. That was it.
Yeah. And in your chapter, you talk about the fact that you would have started investing earlier, but you had this fear that it had to be perfect. You had to know every single thing about investing before you started. And I found that really interesting. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so that's something that, funny enough, on a general level, a lot of women also suffer with, because they feel like before they have to take some sort of action, whether it's investing or a lot of other things, we think that we have to write some sort of PhD thesis on a subject before we actually take the step that we need to take. So I pretty much studied, finance, and I've been in that financial service space for 17 years or more now. Whoa. And I know. And it's crazy, because it took me more than 10 years of being in that industry to actually think that I could invest in a share. I felt like I needed to be some sort of Warren Buffett guru first before I actually started investing, which is ridiculous, because Warren Buffett became Warren Buffett by actually investing when he was a little kid and, learning from all that. So you have to take that step. And that's something that I've obviously learned with time, that you don't have to have every type of knowledge about a specific thing. You need to just take that step, and then the next step, and then you learn as you go.
Yeah. Awesome. You also talk about imposter syndrome in your chapter and how that's been something that you've had to contend with. Can you tell us about
that? That is like a major problem. It's something that I'm constantly, every time I kind of have to level up and do something that I've never done before, there's always that whole, oh my God, who do I think I am? Like, can I actually do this type of scenario? And over the years, it's funny, because as I started to kind of be known in this space, and I was asked to come and speak at events, and, recently was on the ABC News breakfast show, all this type of exposure. I remember thinking that I'm talking about finance. So I figured I had to be perfect, right? My finances, I couldn't educate people about finances unless I was some billionaire guru who had all the boxes ticked and I knew everything about finances, and I was just a superstar at that. And of course, as time went on, I realized that, when it comes to education, because I started realizing when I was educating women that I was very good at simplifying things. I was very good at, having those conversations with women that they understood. And I realized even if I wasn't some guru or some perfect person with their finances, I was good at simplifying financial terms. I was good at educating in a basic way. And I realized that's all these ladies wanted. That's all they needed. They didn't need Warren Buffett female version. They just needed me and my kind of strength.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I think that probably makes you very relatable as well when they're working with you. So then they're more comfortable in talking to you and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly right. Because I can actually relate. I'm not too far ahead. You know what I mean? I'm not so out of the loop of reality and daily struggles that these women go through. I can totally relate. So yeah, they're very comfortable with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you also talk about the scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
And how that can hold us back.
Yep, definitely. So scarcity mindset is something that I've had since I was a kid, really, because I always used to compare with other people and just think that our family didn't have that much, compared to everyone else. We were middle class. We were not poor by any stretch of the imagination, but I just used to think there was scarcity of money. We weren't able to buy all the things I wanted as a kid. So I just grew up with that mindset of there isn't enough money, there isn't enough stuff. And that kind of showcased in just my mindset around possibilities. So even in the book, I talk about, it took me a long time to just start Her Economics because I looked around and I thought, it's already saturated. What would I bring to the table here? There's already some amazing people who are already doing amazing things. And what would I bring to the table? And then I eventually realized they were all very unique, just like I would be unique and would be able to connect with very specific people because of that. And that's when I realized that it doesn't matter whether there's other people in it. You're going to go in there and showcase something different that no one else showcases and connect with certain people that no one else connects with as well.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I think that's such great advice for all of us that, it doesn't matter if there's lots of other people doing something similar. No one does it the way that you do. And the people who want to work with you will be attracted to you and your style and the way that you do things.
Exactly right.
Yeah. You also talk about connection, and I have a feeling that connection might be your superpower. Would that be an accurate observation?
Yeah, you're right. That is, it is. It definitely is my superpower. I find it very, very easy. A lot of people always asking me, how do you do it? I mean, it does help. My personality is just that way inclined. I'm somebody who has just got that, I don't know what you want to call it, joyful, happy. I want to connect with everyone personality. But I also have a specific mindset that I talk about in the book, a specific philosophy of how I connect with other human beings. I've dubbed it the see-through connecting philosophy. And it's pretty much just about how I connect with people on an individual basis. Human beings, when you kind of connect with them without putting them into boxes, without coming and projecting what you think somebody is, in an open way, most people are very open in return. And I just find it easy to connect with people of all types.
Yeah, I love that so much. I love connection as well. I think that's why we found each other.
I love human beings as well in general. I just like humans, so that helps.
Yeah. So good. You also talk about carpe diem in your chapter, and life is short. We never know if today's our last day.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that and the impact that has for you in the way that you live your life?
Yeah, definitely. So I've always been somebody who really just enjoys life in general. And I've always wanted to enjoy life as much as possible, live life to the fullest and so forth. But as you get older, you actually get to see the reality of, yes, actually life is too short, because you start seeing loved ones dying. I talk about in the book about my sister-in-law who passed away only 34. She was just, to me, 34 is a baby. It's really young. And she had two young kids, my nieces, and she had an older boy, my nephew. And it was a big shock because it was a car accident, it was unexpected. And she was so full of life. She was someone who just loved life so much. And that was a huge, devastating time for my family and I. And again, it reiterated the point that life is quite short, and you never know. Any time could be your time. And I already thought that way, but it really solidified it for me when my sister-in-law died. And I pretty much live my life every day. Like, people talk about gratitude and everything. Most of the time, I'm just grateful to wake up in the morning. It's like the first thing I think about when I wake up. I'm just grateful I woke up. Many people don't wake up in the morning. We take things for granted. But I'm just thankful for being alive, to be able to just save a life, even when things are going, are difficult. I still say, the price of submission to life is discomfort. So if I'm feeling discomfort, it means I'm still alive. I'm not dead. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah. I love that so much. And that, that joyful gratitude and appreciation that we're here.
Yes, we're here. This is it. I always think that even if you live to be 100 years old, it's a short life. In the scope of, how long the universe and the galaxy is, it's nothing. So even for people who live to be 100, enjoy every second.
Yeah, I love that so much. Thank you so much, Wadzi, for being here today and for chatting with me. You'll also be in Melbourne. For anybody who's tuning in from Melbourne, you can come and meet Wadzi at our Melbourne networking night that's coming up, and hear some more from her. You can also read her chapter in our new book, Women Leading the Way. Thank you so much, Wadzi. It's been great.
Thanks so much, lovely lady. I can't wait to see all the people in Melbourne.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It'll be fun. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. I'd now like to welcome Anna Barwick to join me on stage. Anna.
Hi, Peace.
Hi, Anna. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you here. Anna, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you do.
Sure, yeah. So I'm the founder and CEO of Pharm Online, which is the first pharmacist-led telehealth service in Australia. That comes from my background as being a clinical pharmacist, as well as a diabetes educator and an immuniser. I currently work as a senior lecturer in the School of Rural Medicine at the University of New England in beautiful Armidale in northern New South Wales. And I'm currently working on my PhD in telepharmacy at the University of Queensland.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. And Anna, your chapter is called Winning or Learning. And there's a quote in there, you are either winning or learning in life. Can you tell us about this and what it means to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something that has been with me for a long time. Even as kind of like a teenager, I have had some wonderful mentors in my life, but one in particular that came into my life after my grandmother passed away from undiagnosed heart disease. And she gave me, some quotes that really kind of make you or encourage you to get involved and have a go, and to never focus on the word failure. And it's not something that is generally even in my vocabulary. So I always tell people that if you have a go at something, you're either going to win, so you're going to get a really good outcome and get what you want, or you learn from it. So it's never, ever a failure. It's always something that you can learn from and put into your little backpack of talent and skills and utilize down the track. And I think sometimes, having things that don't go the way you want them to, or not as intended, is not necessarily a bad thing, because it does help you to build, your skills with coping, in those situations, but also then knowing and almost kind of reigniting that fire of trying to achieve what you actually are trying to do. So, yeah, I think winning or learning encapsulates that really well.
Yeah, I love that. And I think for all of us as entrepreneurs, there are things that just don't go the way that we wanted them to, and it can be devastating. And and often it's not until later and you look back in hindsight and go, oh well, that was lucky that happened, because if that hadn't have happened, then we wouldn't have got to where we are. But sometimes in the moment it can be really hard. So
That's right.
can you tell us about that, about how you cope with facing failures? And
and sorry, Peace, it's getting darker here. We're getting like overcast weather, so hopefully it means it rains, because we're in regional New South Wales and we definitely need some rain. But look, I've got many examples of that. People have always said to me, oh, you're doing so well, you're kind of achieving all these things. But what they don't see is all the things that you don't achieve, all the rejections you get, all the times that you don't, get that funding, you don't, win that award, you don't get that opportunity to meet someone that could make a really big difference in your business. And I think, that just happens all the time as entrepreneurs. And I think it's not probably talked about enough. And I think people need to know that on the outside, things can look like they're really successful, but that's often built on a lot of failures. And you use those as stepping stones to kind of get up to where you are at the moment. So, I think it's something that people need to just be conscious of. And I don't think we should sugarcoat things and just always talk about it as successes. We should be talking about those times where we were learning, when things didn't go our way. But, look, I think it's an ongoing thing as a business owner where things just won't go right. And that's okay. A lot of the time it's just staying at it and keeping at it and shifting your mindset a lot of the time so that you, eventually get to where you want to be.
Yeah. In your chapter, you talk about the importance of having a really positive mindset. And there's a quote that you talk about: sooner or later, the one who wins is the one who thinks that they can. Can you tell us about when you first heard that quote?
Yeah, so I was a teenager, and as I said, I had a mentor that kind of came into my life, and that I've got that story in the book. So this was a local woman in my local area who had been a maths teacher and came into my life at a time that was really sad. And she gave me this quote. She actually said, I want you to just think about this. If you write yourself off, if you say, I can't do that, you're not going to do it. You're not even going to try. And so often just having that confidence in yourself, or just willingness to have a go, often then can result in a really positive outcome. So, I was kind of about 16, and it's a quote that travels with me. It's on the wall behind me, and it's one that I constantly think about. So, I think, and it's helped instill in me just, I think, a quiet confidence that I can do a lot of things, a lot of hard things, even when other people think that I can't. And so often me just having go and showing up means that, things work out. And I'm able to get opportunities that other people don't, because they write themselves off. And I think this is really true. What I've seen with other entrepreneurs is they won't even apply for awards or put themselves forward or give something a go or try and make reach out to a contact, because they're like, oh, well, it's not going to come off for me. And of course it won't, because you haven't even tried. So I think just, having that mindset of, if you think you can, if you've got something there, just some tiny little flicker of something in yourself that makes you believe that you can achieve what you're trying to, you will get there. Might not always be in the straight, narrow way that you are hoping, but you will eventually, because your mind is focused on that, and you will find a way to achieve it.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Because, a lot of people do. They hold themselves back because without even trying, they're like, oh, no, well, what's the point of applying for that grant or entering that award? I'm not going to get it anyway. Whereas someone's going to get it.
That's right.
And it may as well be you. And if you believe that you can, then you should at least have a try.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think particularly women are like that. So we need to get out of that belief, I think, that belief system that we can't. As I said, giving something a go often gets an outcome, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And sometimes it's fear that holds us back from doing things. And in your chapter, you talk about having the courage to fail. Yeah. Because it's scary. It's scary to risk things and put it all out there and know that, yes, you might be successful, but yes, this could fall flat and be a complete failure. Can you talk to us about courage?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's something, again, I think that you build over time. And I think there's a really good quote. I don't know who by, but it says, you've got through all your hard days. You're still here. So I think that's important to be aware. Like, you build courage by having a go and getting involved in things, and you need to be, set up that things won't happen as you expect them to, and that's okay, because you're going to learn from it. You're going to pick up knowledge and skills that you can use down the track that will put you in a better place the next time you want to have a go at something. But I think putting yourself forward, putting your hand up in situations where you might feel afraid, I think is so very important. And it almost gives permission for other people to do it too, because they're like, oh, well, if Anna's doing it, why can't I do it? Why is she any different? And I think, again, a lot of women tend to kind of look at women that have succeeded and put them on a pedestal and think, oh, they've never obviously had any self-doubt and they're not like me, or they haven't had the struggles that I've had. And yet they're pushed through it, and that's why they're where they are. And we can all do it. There's nothing particularly special about those people. It's just that they have put themselves out there. They've probably not succeeded a lot of the time, but they've learned and grown from it.
Yeah. Another thing that you talk about in your chapter is maintaining your curiosity. And you talk about how your kids have helped you to maintain that level of curiosity and looking at things from a different perspective. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I've been really lucky. So I've got a 7 and a 5-year-old who we managed to have in our lives after some fertility struggles. And I think if you've ever gone through that in your life, it's a really challenging time. And I think curiosity is one of the first things to go out the window, because you're just focused on, getting a baby, having a baby, getting pregnant. And I think I really lost that in that struggle. And so when the kids were born, and now as they're getting a little bit older, it's made me realize that I need to be a lot more curious and a lot more aware, a lot more kind of, being in the moment. And they're so good for that, because kids will see things and notice things and point them out to you, and you'll go, oh, wow, yeah, I didn't notice that. So my children are great at noticing beautiful sunsets, or even this morning driving into work, because we're in the New England, all of the leaves are currently falling off the trees, and they're like, wow, Mum, look how pretty the road looks with all of the leaves falling across it. And I thought, they're things that we probably just take for granted, because we're just, in the process of getting to where we've got to go to next. And so kids are just wonderful for that. And that makes me slow down and really notice particularly things in nature that I take for granted living in the country. I'm so lucky. I'm surrounded by so much beauty all the time. But it's often them that point it out and make me more aware of it. And I think, particularly as a health professional, I think curiosity is so important. I think, again, I've noticed that health professionals can sometimes get in their own head and they kind of focus on the condition rather than the person, and talking more about, more holistically about treatment and care. And I think just being curious about someone's life and what their intentions are and what they would like to achieve during their life really helps me as a practitioner to be a lot more aware and a lot more useful, I think, to people that do need health care. So yeah, I think curiosity is really important, and we should never lose it. I think it's such a thing we see in childhood, but we need to maintain that all the way through our adulthood. And as what you said, even up to when we're 100, we should be curious and interested in the world.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. I love that. And speaking of curiosity, you're doing your PhD at the moment, and I'm curious about that. What are you studying? How long have you been doing it for? And what made you decide to go ahead and do your PhD?
Great question. Sometimes I ask myself that as well. Why am I doing this? Because it's a hard slog. But so I'm currently doing that part-time. I've been at it now for about probably about 4 or 5 years, so I'll still have a few more years to go before I finish it. But my PhD is focused on the impact of telepharmacy interventions. So where pharmacists are available online, either on the telephone or on video conference, to help people with their medication and health queries. And so currently we're still in the data collection phase. So we've been running a service down in Tasmania that's available to the public and to aged care workers and to other health professionals to be able to ask questions after hours, so between 6 p.m. and midnight. And so that's a fully subsidised service by the local government down there. And so we're collecting data from people as they use it so that we get an understanding of what they want and what they need, and you know, to check whether we actually do solve their issues just through that contact. And so it's been really interesting putting all that data together, and I'm really looking forward to reporting on that in the next couple of years as I kind of complete that. But the idea is to, hopefully demonstrate the value of pharmacists in that way, rather than them just being in a hospital department or just at your local pharmacy down the street, but actually having them available almost around the clock, and identifying ways to improve a telepharmacy service for the future that can be used Australia-wide as well.
Wow, that's really exciting. Really exciting. Yeah.
Thank you. And it links really well to Farm Online, obviously. So it's what I'm doing in that. So I'm actually able to gather the data and, provide some really good independent analysis of that, which is great.
Yeah, it's amazing work that you're doing. Thank you so much for being here today, Anna. It's been such a delight chatting with you and hearing more about your journey and your chapter in our book. So thank you so much. And anybody who would like to read Anna's chapter can find it in Women Leading the Way. And we've got the link at the bottom of the screen to order your copy. But thank you so much for being here, Anna.
Thanks, Peace.
I'd now like to welcome our next guest, Georgia. Please join me on stage.
Hi, Peace.
Hey, Georgia, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, really good. So for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
So, yeah, beautiful. My name's Georgia Graham, and excuse my head cold. I'm not sounding the best today, but I run a business called Empowering Financial Solutions, which is a bookkeeping and small business advisory business. I also run another business with Amanda Thompson called Financially Fit Women. And excitingly, we've actually launched our first course this week, which is called the Financially Fit Bootcamp. And similar to Wadsy's beautiful message, we're all about empowering women to really take hold of their finances and understand them, because we think that women owning their finances means that women can really own the world. So, yeah, it's an exciting week for us this week to have that course launch.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations on the launch.
Thank you.
It's wonderful. So, Georgia, your chapter, there's a beautiful quote that it starts with. I am not a victim of my life. What I went through pulled a warrior out of me, and it is my greatest honor to be her. Rupi Kaur.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that quote?
Yeah, I found that quote in Rupi Kaur's book during a period in my life that was particularly dark, I think. I have then kind of put it all over my house. It's on the board behind me, if you can see behind me. It's everywhere, because I think that course has led me to become truly empowered and to change my situation and to change my life. I think that it's just such an amazingly strong female quote, and it's so beautiful. And, you know, some of Rupi Kaur's story is a little bit similar to mine in some senses as well. So there's another quote within my chapter, which is from Rupi Kaur, that is, you know, it's kind of feeds into my story as well. So I think that I just had this really a beautiful alignment with her and her storytelling abilities. And so I really loved that quote. And it was something that really helped me. So I loved having it at the start of my chapter.
Mm-hmm. And your chapter it starts out as a letter to yourself, which I feel was such a powerful way to tell your story. I'm going to read a little bit from your chapter because it's so beautiful.
Thanks, Peace.
Georgia, the next 10 years will be difficult. You will hurt, you will grieve, you will have a long journey to find acceptance. You will grieve the years you think you have wasted. You will grieve the experiences that do not play out the way you had always imagined. You will feel defenseless and angry as you tell your story, only to be shamed and minimized. You'll punish yourself for not having the strength and the courage to fight for your worth and to protect your unborn son. You didn't leave when you should have. You didn't fight for yourself. You let yourself down in so many ways. My promise to you with hindsight is that you will wake every day knowing your strength. You will find ways to earn back your power. You will see your courage and your bravery will arise. You will learn not to embody the shame, but instead the lessons, and there will be many. You'll make so many mistakes. You will become a great mother. You will find your purpose. You will learn how to live a connected and rich life. Your idea of happily ever after bears no risk, and risk is exciting. Take the leap, trust your instincts, and ride the peaks and troughs of your journey. So powerful, Georgia, so powerful. And as I read that, it's almost as if I'm visualizing you going back in time and telling the young Georgia.
Yeah, and I think that was sort of my aim of it. I didn't want it to just be telling the young Georgia. I wanted to be telling any woman who's in that position. So while it might be a love letter to myself, I wanted it to be a love letter to any woman who is in a similar position to me, whether there's, you know, trauma, whether they're in a situation which I felt like I couldn't get out of. I just wanted to be able to give them the power to accept that is my situation for now. But I do have the power within me to change that situation. And I think that's where the whole leadership element comes into it, because I feel like sharing my story, I can sort of hopefully show other women that there is a way to lead yourself out of it. So, yeah. I hope that other women read it as a love letter to themselves.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's so much power in how you've taken back your story, you've rewritten the narrative, and also the inspiration that it's possible to do that. So for other women who are watching right now, who read your chapter in the future, that even though they're stuck now and they're not where they wanted to be or whether they ever dreamt that they would be, that it's always possible to make a change and to take that chance to choose something else.
And I just wanted to share as well, my beautiful friend Amanda sent me a quote this morning, which just resonated with me so much. And, you know, I finished my chapter saying that that's the end of that story. I'm off to write my own. And Amanda sent me this beautiful quote this morning, and it says, "Embrace uncertainty. Some of the most beautiful chapters in our lives won't have a title until much later." And I feel like that is just such a good summation of all of it. It's like, you know, you have to embrace the fact that you can't actually control anything. You can't control what happens to you. The only thing you can really control is how you respond to it. And in all honesty, I had so much go wrong in my life and so much trauma and upheaval in a really difficult time, but it has truly become the best chapter and the most inspiring chapter in my life. I've met so many incredible women as a result of it. I've met you and Katie and all of the beautiful Ozmoms. So, you know, you have to accept the ups and the downs, I guess, like the peaks and the troughs. And there'll be some high highs and some pretty low lows. But yeah, I think you can survive it. Definitely.
Yeah, I love that so much, Georgia. So beautiful. In your chapter, you also talk about this idea of creating the perfect life, and you had this checklist where it was like, you know, do this, get a good grades in school, go to university, get the perfect husband, get the perfect house, all of those things.
Yeah.
And your life actually looked incredible from the outside, but it was, the whole thing was a lie. Can you tell us about the checklist and perfectionism?
Oh, as Wodsy was saying earlier, I think perfectionism just is a lifelong battle for most of us, especially as women. But in my head, the way that I really made myself live by that perfectionism was to have this checklist. And I thought that if I continue along the lines of this checklist and I make sure I mark off everything on this list, then I'll have the permission, or I'll give myself the permission to be happy. And I can say that I'm successful and I've achieved everything that I needed to. And I got to the end of the list and I was miserable. I was in a terrible marriage. I was completely unhappy. I was not anywhere near close to the self that I am now. I had this, supposedly great career, but it gave me no sense of fulfillment. I didn't really enjoy it in any sense. I had no real connection with any friends, so-called friends either, because I was, covering up so much of my life and all of my struggles and everything that I was going through. So I think that, now I look at the checklist and it's like, the box that I left unticked was live happily ever after, because that checklist does not lead to a happily ever after. That checklist leads to a very boxed in, superficial life, I think. And something that I always talk about is that it's like, you're wearing a mask and you're presenting everyone with this mask of what you think that they want to see. And once you let that mask slip, that's when true connection actually comes into your life. When you can share stories vulnerably. And we always talk about, the power of storytelling. And we can't do that with a mask on. So, I think that checklist now is a little bit of a joke. And I think I question myself sometimes. I'm like, when I'm being like a perfectionist, I'm like, is this just a part of your checklist, Georgia? But it's one of those things that you're just always going to battle. So.
Yeah, but I think as, our society encourages us to follow that checklist, and there's a lot of pressure to live up to that, being perfect and doing everything the way that, we're told to do it. But actually, if it's not authentic to you, if it doesn't feel right, it's okay to change track and change direction. And I think that's something that we're not necessarily told to do.
No, and it's not necessarily accepted either. Like, even me, I get questioned for giving up a really good corporate job and going out on my own and doing something like what I'm doing now. People are like, oh, but why? Like, you were so safe and secure. And I'm like, and I was bored and I had no sense of purpose and no fulfillment. And so, and it's something that, I still have to remind myself every day as well. It's like being a business owner is not exactly easy. Being in corporate was probably a lot easier, but I was also not getting anywhere near the sense of fulfillment that I have now. So,
Yeah. Well, it's been wonderful having you here today, Georgia. And we're looking forward to catching up with you in Melbourne for our networking night in a few weeks as well. So everybody who's watching, I'd love you to come along. Wadsy will be there and Georgia will be there as well. But thank you so much for sharing your story with us in Women Leading the Way.
Thanks.
It's such
a powerful
story, Georgia. And congratulations on everything you're doing now, because your life has completely changed and it's so wonderful.
A little bit different.
It's really good. Thanks, Georgia. I'd now like to welcome our final guest to join us. Irina, please join me on stage.
Yes, hello. Hi, Peace. Thank you for having me.
How are you?
Yeah, all right, good.
Irina, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about the work that you do.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Irina Castellano, and I have just as of this month actually started my coaching business. So this is supposed to not just coach, especially women like me, who would like to maybe find their new purpose after, kids are off to high school. That's more my thing now that I took time out for myself now that the kids are more independent. And I would like to use this time as well to guide people into fostering or adoption, if that was ever on their radar, because, I know how it takes a bit of time to get around to actually doing it. It's when you hear about it, you think, one day. And I would like to be the one that actually helps them along on their journey. So I've created a 4-week course to tell them everything and anything about fostering or adoption, because also a lot of people think that you cannot adopt in Australia, which is not really true, even though not all states and territories have the same rules. But for example, here in New South Wales, it has definitely been more streamlined. And I would like to help people on their journey, because we've been fostering now for 23 years. And we've also adopted 2 children from out-of-home care.
Yeah, beautiful. Your chapter is called Everything Happens for a Reason. Can you tell us about that title and what it means to you?
Yeah, it is a bit about what she said, that, there are, and even the others, that there is always a silver lining with everything. And for me, I really do believe that everything has a purpose. And we have, I mean, when I read the book, A Child Called It, at the age of 15, that was the first time I ever heard about fostering. And I always wanted kids. I've been babysitting since the age of 12. I always wanted my own children. But then when I read about, children being abused, and it was a real eye-opener for me. I had never even heard of kids being abused to this extent within their own biological families. And also just the fact that you could foster children and help these children. So for me, everything really happens for a reason. That when I read that book, I decided then and there at the age of 15 that one day I would love to not just have my own kids, but also to foster and maybe even adopt one day. And then when I did come here to Australia, I was on a spouse visa, so I wasn't allowed to work, which again, I think, it all happens for a reason. So I had all the time in the world to read the local papers, and everywhere it was asking for foster carers, which I had never seen in Europe, originally from Germany, and I had never seen that in any of our papers. So I kind of reminded my husband that was something I wanted to do. I just kind of forgot to mention it before we got married. And he traveled a lot. He traveled 200 days a year.
Wow. Yeah.
And so he knew that if we started this, it would be, on my own for quite a while. And he came on board, wasn't totally convinced, which is often the case. It's rarely the man wanting to do it. But now, he's embraced it, and we've been fostering over, probably close to 80 kids now.
That's amazing. It's amazing. In your chapter, you talk about the fact that you had a long journey with IVF. Can you tell us about IVF?
Yes, I mean, it didn't help that my husband traveled so much. It didn't help that we weren't spring chicken when we met. So all of that played, I'm sure, a role. And again, I think everything happens for a reason, because I do believe that having gone through it, I would like to now connect with people who have been on this journey as well. That maybe they tried IVF and maybe they were successful. We've been successful. We have an IVF child, and in that sense, but not everybody can be successful. Not everybody can have a second or third child with IVF. So that would be maybe an option if you wanted a playmate for your child, to actually, think about fostering or adoption to increase your family, but also to know that there are plenty of kids out there that need temporary homes. And because I've had a problem initially to connect the fostering and the adoption, because fostering is all about helping children, but then a success story would be that they are reunited with birth families. So that's the main purpose of fostering. And children should always remain within their birth family if at all possible, and if it is safe to do so. But not all children can be returned to birth families, or even find people within the extended family. So in that sense, it's a journey in any which way for anybody to want to have children, and then boom, it doesn't happen. I also think that happened for a reason. I really think it has made me more compassionate and empathetic for people to have gone through this journey. So I really think that empathy and compassion is not something you're born with. I think it is something that develops through role models around you and through your own experience. So even that was meant to be.
Yeah, and there's a quote in the book that says, if we had had 3 children naturally, we probably would never have thought about fostering. And you've got 2 daughters who are adopted. They wouldn't be part of your family now.
Exactly. So I really think that, it was meant to be. And since I was always open to it anyway, if we would have had kids, boom, 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 one after the other, then, life gets so busy, and then you think, oh, it's plenty, and then you might never go down that route. But, I now work with people who have also had their own children. They have left the house, and they're like, oh, I could really have some more kids in the house. I would like to give that a go. So I work with empty nesters. I work with people who have done the IVF journey, weren't successful. I would love to work with IVF clinics to actually, really work with them. That, yes, of course, you need to go through a certain grieving process if you are not successful in IVF, or if it only worked for one, but you would like to have more. But then to work with these clinics to actually say, hey, now give information to these people after 6 months, a year, and say, would you be willing to consider? And we could help these kids, because this is why I also really started it, is that we have these kids now sitting in motel rooms without homes to go to. There are no orphanages in Australia, and that's fine, but a motel room is definitely not the place to be for these kids, so
Yeah.
we need more homes. So if we could bring the people that would like to have more kids in their lives together with those who are desperately needing families, then that's my aim of the whole thing here.
Yeah. There's over 4,000 kids in needing homes at the moment. Is that?
All over Australia, yeah. That's a figure I got from Adopt Change, and
Yeah.
So we've got
And
pick and choose, unfortunately.
There's different types of care, though. This is something that I didn't know about foster care. There's respite care, restoration, permanent, and emergency care, and each of those is different. So you might foster a child and it'd be just for a short time, but other times it's a permanent arrangement, and then it could lead to adoption. Can you tell us about respite? What's respite foster care?
Yeah, so I'm also working with people who say, look, I can't really dedicate my whole life to it. I'm so busy at work and this and that, but I would like to help. So then respite could be an option. So which means that foster families who have children in their care, that they need help here and there. So either because the behaviors are quite challenging and they would just like to regroup as a family, have a little break on the weekend. It could be that the foster mother needs to be in hospital and she needs a bit of help for a week or so. So respite care means that you are helping a foster family to just have a bit of support if they need it. So if there are scenarios where for whatever reason they need an extra helping hand, or you could do it as a kind of a mentorship thing, that you take the kids in your care once a month, once every 2 months, 3 months. So it's totally up to you. Every foster carer, it's a volunteer service that you do. So any help is appreciated. And respite care means that you get a begin date and an end date. So we do, for example, respite for 2 kids that come on a Friday and they stay until Sunday afternoon. And then they're, back in their surroundings. But in the meantime, the foster family can kind of reconnect with their biological kids and have, a bit more quality time there. And just, it gives them a little bit of a break to just then regroup. Or if they, if people, like I said, need an extra hand because they have to go to hospital, or they booked, like I've had it before, so that they had booked a skiing holiday, then they were placed with a little baby. And they say, well, this is not going to work. This is all short notice. And then we step in. We take the baby for, that time that they are away. And then they can continue caring for the same child when they come back. So that would be respite.
Yeah. And it's been an incredible experience for you. What are some of the beautiful experiences that you've had as a foster mum?
Oh, I think the key thing is that you get a lot of kids that are quite low with their confidence. So when you ask them, do you want to do this? Oh, I can't do it. Why not? Oh, because I'm, too dumb, not smart enough, whatever. Okay. Or not tall enough. No, and you think, what? Let's just start at the basic. Let's rewire those neurons in your brain with all the negative talk. Let's actually make it a bit more positive. Let's do some uplifting here. Let's say, if you don't know how to do it, let me show you. And then you try. And then if you've tried several times, you get better and better and better at it. So spending the time with these kids, building up their confidence. A lot of them are behind in terms of learning, or, they've had so much going on in their life that it's very hard for them to sit still in class and concentrate and take it all in. Some kids have missed class because they didn't go to school and all of these things. So when you see them, just shine in the sense that they're laughing more, they're having more fun, they're willing to give it a go with things, they're, suddenly in a team sport that they never had a chance to do. many kids have never been invited to birthday parties. They've never had play dates at home. I mean, all the things that we take for granted, a lot of these kids never had a chance to do. So once you like kind of work with them and say, shall we invite that one? Is that a nice friend? Would you like to have him over for a play date? What, at my house? What really? And, it's just beautiful to see. You see them kind of shining from the inside out, and just working with them and just giving them the confidence that, hey, you know what? You can do anything you want. You just put your mind to it, and I'm going to be right here helping you along, and you'll get better and better at things. So also hygiene. A lot of children, they've never really had a fresh uniform every day. They never, basics. I mean, I've had 3-year-olds that had never even seen a toothbrush, and then they take pride in their appearance. You can't get them out of the bathroom. So where before when you said, oh, can you do this? Or can you, oh, no, I don't need to. I've never done this and whatever. And then suddenly you can't get them out of the bathroom because they take such pride in their appearance, and they're asking for, had a teenager who then said, oh, can I have a bit more of that aftershave you gave me? Or, really cute. So it's just seeing that. Just seeing them shine.
No, it's beautiful, the work that you do, Irina, and thank you for everything you do in helping these kids and helping parents to become foster carers as well. It's really beautiful.
I just would love for more people to step up and do that as well. I know it's not for everybody, but if you are a bit flexible and you give it a go, there's a lot of rewarding moments. I'm not saying it's easy, but parenting in itself is not easy. There's enough we need to do, but there's many kids that need safe homes, and they didn't ask for any of this.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today, Irina. It's been wonderful chatting with you, and thank you for your chapter in Women Leading the Way. That concludes our festival now. Thank you to everybody who has joined us and watched live, to everyone watching the recording as well, and thank you to our guests today. It's been wonderful chatting with each of our authors. We will see you again next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.